Throughout history, dominant powers have employed ruthless tactics to subdue populations and consolidate control. One such tactic, known as harrying, involves systematic destruction and destabilization to weaken resistance and enforce compliance. From ancient empires to modern nation-states, the echoes of harrying reverberate through time, leaving behind a legacy of trauma, division, and social unrest. This essay will explore the historical use of harrying, tracing its evolution from medieval battlefields to the digital age. We will examine how this tactic has been deployed across different cultures and continents, from William the Conqueror's brutal subjugation of England to America's westward expansion at the expense of native populations. We will also delve into the Century of Humiliation, a period in Chinese history marked by foreign exploitation and humiliation, and draw parallels to the contemporary political landscape. By understanding the mechanics of harrying, we can better recognize its manifestations in our own time. The tactics may have evolved, but the underlying goal remains the same: to divide and conquer, to sow discord and weaken opposition. From the scorched earth policies of ancient armies to the disinformation campaigns of the digital age, the thread of harrying connects seemingly disparate events across time and space. This exploration is not merely an academic exercise. By recognizing the patterns of the past, we can better understand the challenges of the present. The echoes of harrying can be heard in the polarized political climate of the United States, where social divisions are exploited for political gain. By shining a light on these tactics, we can begin to dismantle them and build a more just and equitable future. In 1066, William the Conqueror, Duke of Normandy, invaded England, claiming the throne for himself. His victory at the Battle of Hastings marked the beginning of Norman rule in England, but it was a victory achieved through brutal means. To quell rebellions in the north, William unleashed a campaign of terror known as the Harrying of the North, a chilling example of harrying in its most brutal form. The Harrying of the North was a systematic and deliberate act of destruction. William's forces swept across the north of England, burning villages, destroying crops, and slaughtering livestock. The goal was not merely to defeat the rebels in battle, but to break their spirit and their ability to resist. The impact on the civilian population was devastating. Families were torn apart, homes were destroyed, and fields lay barren, leaving the survivors facing starvation and destitution. The Harrying of the North serves as a stark reminder of the human cost of conquest. It is a testament to the cruelty that can be unleashed in the pursuit of power. The brutality of William's actions sent shockwaves throughout England, solidifying his control, but also sowing the seeds of resentment that would linger for generations. The legacy of the Harrying of the North is not confined to the annals of history. It serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power and the devastating consequences of dehumanizing one's enemies. The echoes of this brutal campaign can be felt in conflicts throughout history, where civilians have been targeted and terrorized as a means of achieving political objectives. Centuries after William the Conqueror's reign of terror, the echoes of harrying reverberated across the Atlantic Ocean, this time in the Americas. European colonization of the New World brought with it a wave of violence and displacement as European powers sought to expand their empires at the expense of indigenous populations. The tactics employed by European colonizers mirrored those of their medieval predecessors, with devastating consequences for Native Americans. One of the most egregious examples of harrying in American history is the forced removal of Native American tribes from their ancestral lands. Driven by a belief in manifest destiny, the United States government enacted policies designed to displace Native Americans and open up land for white settlement. Treaties were broken, reservations were established on undesirable land, and tribes were forcibly relocated, often at gunpoint. The Trail of Tears, the forced removal of Cherokee people from their homelands in the southeastern United States to Indian Territory, present-day Oklahoma, stands as a harrowing testament to the brutality of this era. Thousands of Cherokee people died from disease, starvation, and exposure during the journey, a tragic symbol of the human cost of westward expansion. The impact of these policies on Native American communities was catastrophic. Tribes were stripped of their land, their culture, and their way of life. The trauma of this period continues to reverberate through generations, a stark reminder of the enduring legacy of colonialism and the importance of recognizing and addressing historical injustices. The 19th century witnessed the rise of Western imperialism on a global scale, as European powers carved up Africa and Asia, imposing their will on weaker nations. China, once a proud and powerful empire, found itself on the receiving end of this imperial aggression, subjected to a series of humiliating defeats and forced concessions that left the nation reeling. This period, known as the Century of Humiliation, serves as a stark example of how harrying can take on economic and political dimensions. The Opium Wars, fought between China and Great Britain in the mid-19th century, marked a turning point in China's relationship with the West. British merchants, eager to open up Chinese markets to their goods, flooded the country with opium, a highly addictive drug. When the Chinese government attempted to crack down on the opium trade, Britain responded with military force, ultimately defeating China and imposing a series of unequal treaties. These treaties forced China to cede territory to foreign powers, pay exorbitant indemnities, and grant concessions to foreign traders. The once mighty Qing dynasty was reduced to a shadow of its former self, its authority undermined by foreign interference and internal unrest. The Century of Humiliation left a deep scar on the Chinese psyche, fueling a sense of resentment and a desire for national rejuvenation. The legacy of this period continues to shape Chinese foreign policy to this day. The memory of humiliation serves as a constant reminder of the dangers of weakness and the importance of national strength. China's rise as a global power in the 21st century can be seen in part as a reaction to the Century of Humiliation, a determination to never again be subjected to such exploitation and degradation. Section 5. The Culture War Playbook: Harrying in a Modern Guise. While the scorched earth tactics of medieval armies and the gunboat diplomacy of the 19th century may seem like relics of a bygone era, the underlying principles of harrying have found new life in the digital age. Today, the battleground has shifted from physical battlefields to the realm of ideas, but the goal remains the same: to divide, conquer, and control. The rise of social media and the 24-hour news cycle have created an environment ripe for the spread of disinformation and propaganda. Political operatives and special interest groups have weaponized these platforms, using them to sow discord, manipulate public opinion, and undermine trust in institutions. Just as William the Conqueror sought to break the spirit of the English people, modern-day practitioners of harrying aim to erode social cohesion and weaken resistance to their agendas. One of the most effective tactics in the modern harrying playbook is the creation and amplification of social divisions. By exploiting existing fault lines within society, such as race, religion, or political ideology, these actors can turn groups against each other, diverting attention from real issues and undermining any sense of shared purpose or national unity. This is achieved through a constant barrage of inflammatory rhetoric, misinformation, and outright lies, all designed to stoke fear, resentment, and anger. The impact of these tactics on democratic societies is deeply concerning. As trust in traditional media outlets and government institutions erodes, people become more susceptible to conspiracy theories and extremist ideologies. The very foundations of democracy, built on principles of reasoned debate and respect for dissenting opinions, are threatened by this onslaught of disinformation and manipulation. Section 6. Polarization and Distrust: The Poisonous Fruits of Modern Harrying. The consequences of modern harrying are all around us. Political polarization has reached alarming levels in many countries, with people retreating into echo chambers where they are bombarded with information that confirms their existing biases. This polarization makes it increasingly difficult to have meaningful conversations about important issues, as people talk past each other, demonize those with different viewpoints, and resort to personal attacks rather than engaging in substantive debate. This erosion of civility and respect has a corrosive effect on society as a whole. It undermines trust in institutions, fuels cynicism and apathy, and creates a climate of fear and suspicion. People become more likely to see the world in black and white terms, viewing those who disagree with them as enemies to be defeated rather than fellow citizens with different perspectives. The rise of populism and nationalism can be seen in part as a reaction to this widespread sense of distrust and alienation. Populist leaders often exploit these feelings, presenting themselves as outsiders fighting against a corrupt establishment that is rigged against ordinary people. While their solutions are often simplistic and unrealistic, their message resonates with those who feel left behind and unheard. The challenge for those who believe in democracy and the importance of civil discourse is to find ways to bridge these divides and rebuild trust. This will require a concerted effort to combat disinformation, promote media literacy, and encourage respectful dialogue across ideological lines. It will also require holding those in power accountable for their words and actions, and rejecting the politics of division and fear. Section 7. The erosion of community. How harrying undermines social cohesion. Beyond the realm of politics, the tactics of harrying have also seeped into other aspects of society, eroding social cohesion and undermining the sense of community that is essential for a healthy and functioning society. Just as William the Conqueror sought to break the bonds of loyalty and shared identity among the English people, modern-day practitioners of harrying aim to atomize society, turning individuals against each other and weakening the collective fabric of our communities. Social media, for all its potential to connect people, has also become a breeding ground for cyberbullying, hate speech, and online harassment. These toxic behaviors, often fueled by anonymity and a lack of accountability, can have devastating consequences for individuals and communities alike, leading to social isolation, mental health issues, and even violence. The algorithms that power many social media platforms often exacerbate these problems by creating filter bubbles that reinforce existing biases and limit exposure to diverse perspectives. This can lead to a dangerous cycle of confirmation bias, where people are increasingly exposed only to information that confirms their existing beliefs, making them more entrenched in their views and less likely to engage with those who hold different opinions. The erosion of community has real-world consequences. As people become more isolated and distrustful of each other, they are less likely to get involved in their communities, volunteer their time, or support local businesses. This can lead to a decline in civic engagement, a weakening of social safety nets, and a general sense of anomie and despair. Section 8. Breaking the cycle. A call for unity and understanding. Breaking the cycle of harrying requires a conscious effort to recognize and reject these divisive tactics. We must be wary of information that confirms our biases, seek out diverse perspectives, and engage in respectful dialogue with those who hold different views. It is essential to remember that disagreement does not equate to enmity, and that we can disagree without resorting to personal attacks or demonization. Education plays a crucial role in combating the spread of disinformation and promoting media literacy. By teaching critical thinking skills and providing tools for evaluating information, we can empower individuals to be more discerning consumers of news and information. It is also important to support independent journalism and fact-checking organizations that play a vital role in holding those in power accountable and exposing falsehoods. Building a more just and equitable society requires addressing the underlying social and economic inequalities that often fuel division and resentment. This includes promoting equal opportunity, ensuring access to quality education and healthcare, and creating an economy that works for everyone, not just the wealthy and powerful. Section 9. Conclusion. The enduring legacy of harrying. From the scorched earth policies of ancient armies to the disinformation campaigns of the digital age, the tactic of harrying has left an indelible mark on human history. It is a testament to the enduring human capacity for cruelty and the lengths to which some will go to acquire and maintain power. Yet it is also a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit and our capacity for compassion, empathy, and unity. By understanding the mechanics of harrying, recognizing its manifestations in our own time, and actively working to counter its corrosive effects, we can break the cycle of division and violence that has plagued humanity for far too long. It is a daunting task, but one that is essential if we are to create a more just, equitable, and peaceful world for ourselves and future generations. By embracing unity over division, understanding over suspicion, and hope over fear, we can build a future where the echoes of harrying are finally silenced by the chorus of human compassion and cooperation.